innovation, including training and project management. Jennifer has a commitment to excellence, a positive can-do attitude, and is always looking for opportunities to develop solutions to meet the needs of clients. Outside of work, Jennifer enjoys hiking, volunteering, creating new recipes from leftovers, and spending time with her family. And I just found out she's also working out every day and a big swimmer too. So we're very happy to have her. Please join me in welcoming Jennifer.
So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to explore how the food industry is redefining sustainability through the principles of circular economy. Instead of the linear path of resources taken, used, and discarded, we're seeing a powerful shift in which waste becomes a valuable input into energy, materials, and recapture, and innovation drives efficiency and resilience. This session, Closing the Loop, is about transforming waste into opportunities and how the food industry can build smarter, more regenerative systems that nourish people, protect the planet, and create long-term value. That's me, she told y'all. So, I just want to take a few minutes and talk to you about SGS before we dive in and get into circular economy. We were founded in 1878 in France, inspecting grain ships. In the century and a half that we've been in business, we are the leading testing, inspection, and certification company in the world. That's called the TIC industry. It took me a long time to figure out TIC stood for testing, inspection, and certification. Today, SGS operates with over 99,000 employees. We're bigger than Delta. It has over 2,700 offices and labs, and we focus in 11 global areas. Our mission has always been the same through the century and a half that we've been operating, and that's to ensure businesses operate safely, efficiently, and sustainably. So whether it's food, energy, or the environment, SGS is helping businesses shape a safer, smarter, and more sustainable world. What really sets SGS apart is the combination of scale, expertise, and innovation. With our global network of offices and labs, we're able to support clients throughout the world. Our quality of service is built upon decades of trust and technical excellence. We bring deep industry experience to deliver practical, science-driven solutions for our clients. At the same time, we're investing heavily in digital innovation to make processes smarter and faster, and while keeping corporate sustainability at the heart of everything we do. That's the SGS difference. A global reach, local knowledge, and a commitment to shaping a safer, more sustainable world. One last slide about my company, and I'll get back to our topic. So how do we at SGS put this into action? It starts with the group that I work in, Business Assurance. We help companies strengthen trust, performance, and compliance at every level. From auditing and certification to supply chain assurance and consulting, we make sure operations are efficient, transparent, and aligned with global standards. Through training, sustainability assurance, and regulatory compliance, we empower organizations to manage risk, build resilience, and meet their sustainability goals, all while driving long-term success. Today, we're going to talk about the circular economy. We're going to start by unpacking what circular economy actually means, just not in theory, but why it really matters in the food solutions world or the food safety systems. Then we'll talk about the food waste challenge, how big the problem really is, and the impact it's having on our planet. From there, we'll explore some innovative solutions, the creative technologies and business models that are helping turn waste into opportunity. Next, we'll look at companies that are redesigning supply chains, rethinking how food is produced, packaged, and distributed. And finally, we'll touch on policy and action, what's driving change globally, and how and what each of us can do to help close the loop. But before we talk about circular solutions, let's take a look at the problem, the linear economy that we've all been operating in for decades. Our current food system follows a straight line. I like to call it take, make, and waste. We pull resources from the earth, we produce food, we consume it, and then we throw away what's left. It's simple, but it's incredibly costly. The linear model depletes soil, drains biodiversity, and fuels climate change. In fact, the food industry alone is responsible for nearly 30% of global greenhouse emissions. And much of that's tied directly to waste and inefficiency. Every year, 1.3 billion tons of food are lost and wasted worldwide. That's food rotting in landfills, releasing methane, while millions still face hunger. The result? A system that's not just environmentally unsustainable, but economically wasteful, costing over $1 trillion every year. I was thinking about that this morning. $1 trillion, is that like 12 zeros behind the one? It's a lot of zeros of waste. And that's why shifting from linear to circular thinking isn't just an environmental goal, it's a business and a human goal. It's a necessity. So, the linear model is the problem. Here's the alternative. It's the circular economy. The circular economy completely flips the script. Instead of the straight line of take, make, and waste, imagine a loop. A system where nothing is truly thrown away. Resources circulate continually. Food waste becomes animal feed, which becomes fertilizer, which helps grow more food. Byproducts become new ingredients. Even packaging is being reimagined to return to the cycle again and again. And here's the key point. It isn't just about recycling. It's about redesigning our food systems from the ground up. So waste is prevented before it occurs. It's regenerate by design, or regenerative by design. Restored by nature and essential for a sustainable future for both people and our planet. So how do we put circular economy into practice? It really comes down to 3 guiding principles that reshape how we think about every part of the food system. First, we design waste out. That means building products and systems from the very beginning to eliminate waste and pollution. Every byproduct has a purpose, and every material is given to its next life. Second, we keep products in use. Instead of food packaging ending up in the landfill, materials circulate at a higher value for as long as possible. Food waste can become compost, energy, or new ingredients. And finally, we regenerate nature. This is about giving back more than we take, returning nutrients to the soil, recovering biodiversity, and working with natural systems rather than against them. Together, these principles shift us from a mindset of extraction to one that's restorative, and that's where the real transformation begins. So now that we understand the principles behind a circular economy, let's take a quick look at the biggest opportunities to make changes. And it starts right here at home. Believe it or not, 37% of all food waste comes from our own homes. It might surprise you, but consumer households really have a huge impact. That's more than farms, manufacturers, or retailers. Most of it happens because of simple things: overbuying, forgetting what we have in the fridge, and tossing leftovers that could be reused for something else. We've all done it. Bought too much fresh produce with the best intentions, only to find it wilted a week later and we throw away. But when you multiply this across millions of households, it becomes a massive environmental and economic issue. So while we often look to big industry for solutions, a big part of the truth is real progress starts everyday choices that we make in our homes and in our kitchens. That's why I like to try and come up with new things when I have leftovers. My husband often calls it garbage dump soup or something like that, because I'm pulling stuff out of the fridge to try and make something new out of it before it becomes waste. And even before the food reaches our homes or our plates, a huge amount of waste comes from food service and restaurants. Supermarket. Trying to think here what I'm going to say next. They account for close to 23% of all food waste. Think about what it looks like in a busy kitchen. How many of you have the opportunity to go into a busy kitchen in a restaurant or a hotel where they're making food? We see trays of ingredients that are prepped that are never getting used, overproducing during rush hours, and of course, plate waste when portions are too big. And I've noticed that in the last some 20 years or so, our plate portions are getting so big that I throw away more food than I eat oftentimes when I go to a restaurant because the portions are so large. That's a lot of waste that sometimes is unintentional, but it happens. Chefs want to be prepared, menus change, people's tastes change, and it's hard to predict what's going to happen, but it adds up fast, both in terms of cost and environmental impact. The good news is that the hospitality sector is starting to take this very seriously, using data, smarter inventory systems, and to create menu planning to keep food where it belongs, on the plate and not in the waste bins. But even before the food reaches our homes or our plates or our restaurants, supermarkets and distributors are responsible for about 18% of food waste. A lot of it comes from overstocking, damaged packaging, or products that simply don't sell before their best buy dates. We've all seen it. Perfectly good fruits and vegetables are tossed to the side because they may be bruised or they don't look perfect. Retailers often reorder or overorder to keep their shelves looking full. But it's that visual abundance that comes at a very big cost because oftentimes a lot gets thrown away. The encouraging part for this is that more and more retailers are rethinking this, partnering with food banks, using dynamic pricing to sell near expiry items, and finding creative ways to redistribute food rather than just throw it away. I remember when I was growing up, my father worked for Kroger, and whenever the greens would get all wilty, Kroger would give it to him, and he would take it to the local pig farm, because I grew up in a pig farming community, and the pigs ate pretty good lettuce and greens, year-round, because Kroger was giving wilted greens to my father to take to the pig farms. It's a great reminder here that circular thinking doesn't just belong on the farm or in the kitchen. It's needed all along the supply chain. But there's one more place where we see food waste, and it's actually on the farms. Or I'm sorry, this is in the processing. 13% of total food waste, it happens in processing. This is from trim of product, it's from scraps, it's from offcuts, and it's from rejects that don't make it into the final product. Sometimes it's unavoidable. A batch doesn't quite meet the quality spec. Or perfectly edible material is lost because it doesn't fit cosmetic or consistency requirements or standards. What's exciting about this is that companies are starting to rethink this as well. Some are turning fruit pulp into natural sweeteners, or grain byproducts into animal feed, or even snacks. These kind of innovations, which I'm challenging you to think of as food technologists, shows how circular thinking can turn what used to be waste into new value streams. Here's my last part of food waste. It comes from where it all begins, on the farm. 9% of global food waste happens right here at the farm level. It's the food that never even leaves the field. Crops that are left unharvested because of market rejections, weather damage, or simply because they don't meet size or appearance standards. Farmers might have bumper crops, but if prices drop or demand shift, it's often cheaper to leave the produce behind than to harvest and transport it. And that means not only is the food wasted, the energy, water, and labor used to produce it is also wasted. All the sources that went into it are just gone. The encouraging news is that some farms are finding creative ways to close the gap, selling imperfect produce directly to consumers, partnering with food companies to have recovery programs, or turning surplus into animal feed or compost. It's just another powerful reminder that when we begin to think circularly, that we have to start to the very next step of the food supply system journey that we're all embarking upon. And it all starts right in the soil from the very beginning. So when we look across the entire food system, from the farm to the fork, it's clear that waste happens at every stage. From crops left in the field, to trimmings in factories, to unsold produce at retail, and finally the leftovers in our own kitchens, it all adds up. In fact, globally, we're wasting about 1/3 of all food produced each year. It's pretty sad when you think about the number of hungry people out there, isn't it? And it's not just a moral issue, it's an environmental and an economic issue as well. All that wasted food represents the lost energy, water, labor, and it generates nearly 10% of global greenhouse gases. But here's the opportunity, and I want you to think about this. If waste happens everywhere, that means solutions can happen everywhere too. Every point in the supply chain is a chance to rethink, redesign, and regenerate, which is exactly what the circular economy is all about. Now we're going to take a look at some of the innovative ways companies are doing just that, turning food waste into real value. Upcycling is about taking what was once considered waste and transforming it into something valuable. Think of juice pulp being turned into fiber-rich flour, or leftover brewery grains producing protein bars. Even those wonky vegetables that don't make it to the store shelves are being turned into gourmet soups and sauces. The Upcycled Food Association has already certified more than 450 products, creating a whole new market category. Brands like Renewal Milk, Toast Ale, and Regrain are showing that yesterday's waste can become today's innovation. And it's not just good for the planet, it's smart business. The upcycled food market is projected to reach $77 billion by 2032. That's a lot of money. That's proof that sustainability and profitability can absolutely go hand in hand. Now we're going to look at another way, powerful way that the food industry is closing the loop by turning waste into energy. It starts with anaerobic digestion, where microorganisms break down organic waste into an oxygen-free mix. What is produced is biogas and a nutrient-rich material called digestate. Next, the biogas, mostly methane, is captured and converted into renewable energy. It can power electricity, heating systems, and even vehicles, all while reducing reliance on fossil fuels. And here's the best part. The remaining digestate doesn't go to waste. It's returned to farms as organic fertilizer, bringing nutrients back to the soil and completing the cycle. So what once filled landfills and produced emissions now fuels homes, feeds crops, and supports a regenerative system. That's circular economy thinking in motion. But beyond technology, we're also seeing amazing innovation in business models. Companies reimagine how food moves through the system to prevent waste even before it happens. Take imperfect foods, for example. They rescue those ugly fruits and vegetables that retailers reject and deliver them straight to consumers at a discount. It's saving good food and reducing emissions. There are food-sharing platforms like Too Good To Go and Olio. They connect restaurants, businesses, and grocery stores with consumers who buy surplus meals at low cost, keeping millions of portions out of landfills. We even see nature-inspired ideas like insect proteins, where black soldier fly larvae convert food scraps into high-quality feed, or industrial composting, where large facilities turn organic into nutrient-rich soil instead of methane. Each of these models is proof that sustainability and innovation can thrive together, and that is doing good for the planet and making good business sense. Now, innovation isn't just happening in product and business models, it's transforming the entire food supply chain. Traditional supply chains are long, complex, and often wasteful, but circular thinking is changing that. Redesigning systems from the ground up to eliminate waste at every step. It starts with regenerative agriculture, where farmers rebuild soil health and restore ecosystems rather than depleting them. Then we move into precision processing, where smart technology ensures every ingredient and byproduct is useful to its fullest potential. Smart distribution takes a burger using data and AI to match supply with real-time demand, reducing overproduction and spoilage. And finally, return closed-loop systems. They close that loop, collecting packaging, food scraps, and even energy for reuse. Together, these changes create solid supply chains that don't just move food efficiently, but they're moving it sustainably. And sustainable seems like a real good buzzword that we use a lot, but you can see when you think about circularity in the food system, it really builds sustainability at every level we can get it in and tries to make better sense of what we're doing. One really encouraging thing that we've seen a lot of that's grabbing a lot of attention, that's visible, is transformation that's happening in packaging. Packaging has long been one of the biggest sources of waste in the food system, but that's starting to change as innovations move forward. We're seeing edible packaging material made from seaweed or milk proteins that literally disappear after use. There are reusable container systems, a company called Loop, which I'll talk about in a few slides, where you return your empty containers to a clean refill and it's put back in circulation. For those that are close to my age, we all remember the milkman who delivered milk back in the day. We got our milk on our porch in the cooler, and then we returned the empties and we got the milk in the cooler the next week. So it's much like that milkman that's been brought into the 21st century. On top of that, compostable materials are becoming mainstream, breaking down safety in breaking food down safely in industrial facilities so that we can return it to the soil to help improve soil health. It's a perfect example of circular design when we think about this, where we don't just rethink what's inside the package, but we reinvent the package itself so that it's helpful. It does what we need it to do. So of course, none of these changes would be possible without technology, and we all talk about technology today as the savior for everything, but it's the real engine driving circular transition. Let's start with AI and machine learning. We've all heard a lot about AI and machine learning, but within the circular economy, these tools are helping predict demand more accurately, optimizing production schedules, preventing overproduction before it even happens. Smarter forecasting means less waste and better resource use across the entire food chain. We have IoT sensors, tiny devices that monitor freshness in real time. They track temperature, humidity, and spoilage indicators, extending shelf life and preventing food waste or food from being tossed out too soon. And finally, the digital marketplace that are connecting the dots, linking companies that generate byproducts with others who can use them so they become an input into the next section. Think of it as a matchmaking system for waste, turning what used to be a problem into a new source of value. I remember when I first started food safety auditing with SGS, I was working in the cheese industry, and I was at a cheese manufacturer watching the process. And they told me that up until 5 years ago when I was there, that all the whey they extracted from the milk was thrown away. But today, or when I was there, the whey they extract from the milk to make cheese is even more profitable than the cheese they make because the whey protein is used now. So they're taking that byproduct of whey and they're selling it for more money than they're getting for their cheese, which is kind of mind-blowing, isn't it? That an item that you threw away a few years ago now is bringing you more margin than your actual finished product. This is just a great reminder that the path to circularity, it isn't about a mindset, it's about smart data, connected systems, and innovations that work hand in hand. But the technology story doesn't just stop with those 3 items. Some of the most cutting-edge tools are completely transforming how we track, process, and recover resources across the food system. With blockchain traceability, we can now follow food from farm to fork. Every step is recorded, giving full visibility into where waste occurs, and helping companies build transparent, trustworthy supply chains. It also helps organizations meet FSMA 204 requirements that now have been postponed, as you all know. But it's a way to help meet those requirements for FSMA 204. There's also biotechnology. Scientists are engineering microbes that can break down waste, create new bio-based ingredients, and even produce sustainable proteins through precision fermentation. It's nature and innovation working together. And finally, automation is doing what humans can't do at scale. Sorting materials with pinpoint accuracy, recovering value from complex waste streams, and making large-scale recycling not just possible, but efficient. Together, these technologies aren't just supporting the transition, they're accelerating it, turning circularity from a vision into reality. So as technology accelerates progress, policy helps lock it in, turning innovation into lasting change. Governments around the world are stepping up to make circularity the new standard. Take the EU Circular Economy Action Plan. It's a comprehensive framework that sets ambitious waste reduction targets, expands producer responsibility, and promotes sustainable product design across all member states. It's helping ensure that circular practices aren't just encouraged, but they are expected. And here in the US, California State Bill 1383 is one of the strongest examples of local leadership. It mandates a 75% reduction in organic waste disposal by the end of this year, 2025. It requires organic waste collections statewide and supports food recovery programs to redirect surplus food where it's needed the most. These policies send a clear message. The transition to circular food economy isn't an option anymore. It's the future of how responsible and sustainable business gets it done. And beyond Europe and the US, other parts of the world are also leading the change with powerful policy examples. Take France's anti-waste law. It was the first of its kind globally. This law bans supermarkets from destroying unsold food and requires them to donate it to charities instead. It extends to non-food goods, making it a model for how legislation can turn waste into a force for good. And on a global scale, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 12.3 sets an ambitious target to cut per capita food waste in half by 2030. That's only 5 years from now. It's a driving collaboration among governments, businesses, and consumers alike, all working towards the same goal: smarter, faster, and more sustainable food systems. Together, these policies remind us that real progress happens when innovation meets accountability, where every level, from local to global, moves in the same direction. Of course, government action is only one piece of this puzzle. Real transformation also depends on corporate leadership, and we're seeing some incredible examples across the food industry. Danone is leading the way on packaging committing to make 100% of its packaging circular by 2025, meaning everything will be reusable, recyclable, or compostable. I checked to see how they were doing since we only have 2 months left in 2025. They're at 84%. So they've extended their goal to 2030, and they find the reason they're only at 84% is some of the challenges they have on recycling in smaller economies or smaller communities. It's just not there yet. And I think we've all seen that. I love the vacation on a little island in Florida. They don't have recycling on that island at all. So we carry all the recyclables back to the mainland and get rid of it there. So it's just building those programs in place. Unilever has already achieved zero waste to landfill across more than 600 sites worldwide by turning what used to be byproducts into new resources of revenue. And Pesco is taking circularity right back to the soil, implementing regenerative agriculture on 7 million acres by 2030, restoring soil health, improving biodiversity, and sequestering carbon. These companies are proving that sustainability isn't just good ethics, it's smart business strategy, and it's shaping the future of the food system. So here's my success story I wanted to share with you. Loop, a company that is by TerraCycles, they are reimagining how we stop or we shop by partnering with major brands like Nestle, Unilever, and Procter & Gamble to make reusable packaging mainstream. The idea is simple but powerful. You order your favorite products in durable, beautifully designed containers, use them, and then return the empties for cleaning, refilling, and reuse. They launched in 2019, and Loop has expanded across several countries and saved millions of containers from landfills. What's really exciting about this is proving convenience and sustainability can absolutely coexist. Customers love the premium feel and hassle-free returns. And now, major retailers like Walgreens, Kroger, and Tesco are integrating Loop stations right into their stores, bringing the circular economy to everyday shopping. So imagine if you could take your containers to your grocery store and drop it off and not have to think about it and then get the next one. Amazing. So Loop is a great example of how sustainability and profitability can align. And that brings us to the bigger picture, the investment case for circularity. First, there is a potential for cost reduction. By redesigning processes to eliminate waste, companies save money, not just on materials, but on energy, logistics, and disposal. It's efficiency and sustainability rolled into one. And then there's the economic opportunity. The global circular economy isn't just good for the planet, it's good for business. It's projected to generate trillions in value by 2030, creating entirely new markets for recycled materials, reuse systems, and green innovation. And finally, brand value. We can't say enough about brand value. Companies with strong circular practices build trust, loyalty, and resilience. Consumers want to buy from brands that stand for something, and circularity is fast becoming a key marker of leadership and responsibility. So the circular economy isn't just the right thing to do, it's also the smart thing to invest in. So as I talk to you all about the wonderful things of the circular economy, there are challenges and barriers that we still face today. First, there's the infrastructure gaps. In many regions, facilities for composting, recycling, and processing organic waste simply don't yet exist. Building them takes serious investment and collaboration. Then there's the economic viability. Circular processes often have higher upfront costs, while waste disposal remains artificially cheap. So market incentives need to catch up with sustainability goals. Consumer behavior is another key hurdle. Change can be hard, and convenience often wins out over sustainability unless people are educated, motivated, and supported to make better choices. We also face regulatory fragmentation. Inconsistent policies across countries make it tougher for companies to operate globally and adopt one unified approach. And finally, technical limitations. Some materials are still difficult which is why ongoing research and innovation is so essential. So while barriers are real, none of them are insurmountable, especially when business, government, and consumers all work together for the same goal. So what can you do when we face these challenges, which are very real? The circular economy isn't just a business or a government issue. It's something we all can move forward. So what you can do? You can start by educating yourself. Stay curious about circular innovations. Follow what leading companies are doing and understand how your food is produced and consumed. Then innovate in your own work. Whether you're in research, manufacturing, or marketing, apply circular thinking. Look for ways to design out waste, repurpose byproducts, and challenge old linear assumptions. No more take, make, and waste. Advocate for change. Support policies that promote sustainability and push your organization to take part. And of course, make conscious choices as a consumer. Buy from circular brands. Reduce food waste and compost whenever you can. And finally, collaborate and connect. Join sustainability networks, share ideas, learn from others, because progress happens faster when we build it together. We talked about what each one of us can do, and here's the exciting part. The shift is already happening. It's not coming, it's here today. The transition to a circular food economy isn't a far-off vision. It's unfolding right now. From startups reinventing packaging to global companies rethinking production. The momentum is real and it's growing. Every redesigned product, every recovered resource, every closed is progress toward a food system that restores rather than depletes. And here's where you come in. As professionals in food science and technology, you are the generation that's driving this transformation. The creativity, innovation, and determination you bring will define how humanity feeds itself in the future. The loop is closing, and you are part of that, what's happening. So let's build a food system that wastes nothing and nourishes everything. So as we see, the future is circular, and it's already unfolding around us. Every innovation, every collaboration, and every choice we make brings us closer to a food system that truly wastes nothing and nourishes everything. At SGS, we're proud to be part of that movement, helping organizations rethink processes, verify sustainability plans, and accelerate circular solutions across the entire value chain, food value chain. I'd love to continue the conversation with you. Warren, Lynn, Brett, and myself will be at booth 214 if you'd like to talk further about the circular economy and how we can support you on your journey to circularity. Thank you for joining me today and for being part of the generation helping close the loop. Now, I'll take any questions if you have any.